Who complained the most, your daughters or your husband?
You're going to get me in trouble. This is Eve Schaub, author of Year of No Garbage, and you are listening to the Tony Pruitt Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tony Pruitt Show. Today's interview may be the most difficult, but yet most interesting interview I've ever done. You will not want to miss this interview for sure. Today's guest is an internationally published author and humorist. She is the author of Year of No Sugar, which she wrote in 2014, and The Year of No Clutter in 2017, and The Year of No Garbage, which came out this April of 2023. She has been featured on The Dr. Oz Show, Fox and Friends, USA Today, and the Huffington Post, among many others. She has a BA and a BFA from Cornell University and an MFA from Rochester Institute of Technology. She's one bright lady. And she lives with her family in Vermont, and she enjoys performing these experiments on her family, and she writes about those occurrences. So please welcome to the show the Miss Eve O. Schaub. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Tony.
Thank you for coming. How are things in Vermont right now?
Oh, they're nice. You know, we're just starting to get into summer. All the high schools are having their graduations. You know, it's a beautiful time of year.
Good deal. So how does it feel to be a best-selling author and sell millions and millions of books? How does that feel?
Well, I don't know about millions, but I do feel like I've always been the kind of person who communicates best on the written page. You know, that's just always been where I turn when I want to communicate something that I feel strongly about.
Well, would you ever imagine in 100 years you'd be on shows like Dr. Oz and Fox and Friends? I mean, is that crazy or what?
It was crazy. It continues to be crazy. Yeah, it's not the kind of thing that I ever thought I would do. Definitely not.
That's very cool, by the way. So, so have you always wanted to be an author? I mean, did you?
I think for a long time I didn't totally realize that I could do that as a job. Like, you know, for a long time I pursued a lot of other things like photography and art. As you mentioned in the intro, I studied art. But what I always found was I was gravitating towards, oh, this is the part where I get to write about what I made, you know, the artist statement. And I was always helping my friends write their statements, you know, because a lot of creative people are not word people. You know, they go, oh, I don't know, just, you know, make of it what you will. So, yeah, I always found that no matter what I did, I was always coming back to words. And so, yeah, I like to be the word lady.
That's cool. That's really cool. Let's talk about Year of No Garbage. I have right here. I'm going to show it. Yeah. I've actually read this book. I read this book. It's a crazy book, by the way. Y'all need to go out and buy this book today. So, and I'm going to tell you why. So this book basically tells about you and your family attempt to go a whole year without using any garbage, correct?
That was the plan. Very simple. Very difficult.
Very difficult. It almost seems impossible. I mean, to be honest with you, but along the way, you found out some startling untruths when it regards to plastic and recycling, and that's kind of what the book is about. Am I right on that?
Absolutely. Bang on. Yeah, it was. We didn't know when we started what we were going to find out. I like to say that the book is Super Size Me meets the environmental movement. You know, we were jumping in with both feet,
right?
And who knows what's going to happen or if this is even possible. I was, as usual, wildly optimistic. You know, I'm a very optimistic, very stubborn person. I always feel like there's got to be a way. You know, if we just look hard enough, we will find a solution for all these different things that we would normally put in the trash. And to a certain extent, that is true. But where that line gets drawn is when you come to a material like plastic. And so what we found out is that plastic turned out to be the Darth Vader of our Year of No Garbage. He was the bad guy, number one. And I spent a tremendous amount of time learning about plastic. I even went so far as to, in the fall of our Year of No Garbage, take a college class on Zoom so that I could learn more about what this material really is, where does it really go, what are the truths because there's a tremendous amount of misinformation out there.
Well, and the book tells about obviously the hidden dangers of plastic. So, which I was not aware of at all. And my first question is, how in the hell did you convince your family to go along with this?
Well, it wasn't easy. I have the
No,
world's most accommodating and understanding family, which
obviously,
consists
yes.
of so it's myself, my husband, and our two daughters. And at the time we did this project, my younger daughter was a freshman in high school, and my older daughter was just finishing up her college program in New York City. And so it was a lot of different personalities involved. They were all going to be participating in the project. My daughter, who was in her program in New York City, was going to do the project there, which of course, trying to live with no garbage in a rural town in Vermont is going to be very different than what it looks like doing that in Brooklyn, New York. So
Sure.
I was excited to see what was going to happen there. And how did I persuade them? Well, first I had to promise them, because this is the third project.
Yeah,
the first
I know.
was Year of No Sugar. Second was Year of No Clutter. This is the third project. And when I proposed it, I got a lot of, Mom, no.
I
These
bet.
projects are hard and they change our lives. And that's a wonderful thing, but it's also a difficult thing. Change is uncomfortable. And my younger daughter was like, Mom, I'm just starting my new high school. It's a brand new start for me. I've just finished being the no sugar kid. Now I'm going to be the no garbage kid. So I had to convince her in particular, even though she's in the environmental club at her school, she's environmentally minded. We all like to think that we're environmentally minded. And I think we were, but I think the amount of information there is to know was far more vast than we could possibly have imagined. So I had to promise them, this is the third and final in the trilogy.
So there's no more to come.
No, this is it. It's a nice, neat three-part series. And what I liked about that in the end, in retrospect, is that the first book is really about the things we put in our bodies. When we eat food, what are we putting in our bodies? And then the second book was Year of No Clutter. So it's about the things we bring into our homes. And then the third book, Year of No Garbage, is about the things that go out of our home and into the environment. And what brings us full circle is that the things we put into the environment ultimately are the things that come back and end up in our bodies as well. That's true. It ended up making a lot of sense.
That's cool. So are you still trying to go with that trash now? Are you still doing it?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, we are always trying to be better about our trash and our recycling and the things we decide to get rid of. But we no longer go completely zero waste. During that calendar year, which was 2020, we did not have garbage at all, except for in instances of like health and safety. For example, Band-Aids. So now we do have a trash can in our house. We did not back then. We had the can, the wheelie bin that goes to the end of the driveway, and the garbage truck comes and picks it up. We took that and parked it in our garage, and it sat there empty for the entire year.
Crazy.
So that's no longer the case. Now, we don't have a garbage service provider anymore. What I feel is a little bit more honest is we actually travel, we drive the 5 minutes to the transfer station, and we bring them the trash that we have, such as it is, which is a whole lot smaller than it ever used to be. It's a fraction. But we also save a lot of money that way. We used to pay $65 a month to have our trash and recycling removed at the end of our driveway. Now we pay a couple bucks.
Right.
So that's a tremendous savings.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, like me, just like everybody else, thought when you recycle, you just throw it in the can and it goes away and everything's taken care of. That's really not the case, is it?
That is really not the case. When it comes to materials like glass and metal and paper and cardboard, they've got a really good chance that they will in fact be recycled. There's monetary value in some of these materials. There's people who are actively seeking these materials to use in recycled products. Glass in particular, they need glass to recycle as part of the process of making new glass. Single stream is not an ideal situation, though, because it encourages people to just throw everything on in. And as everyone, I think, is aware of by now, when you start contaminating that stream of recycling, it makes it harder and harder to actually get the materials that will be recycled out of it. But the real lie that I did not expect is that plastic does not get recycled 95% of the time. 5% of the time is how often plastic is actually recycled in any way. And usually it's not a very good form of recycling. It's called downcycling, where they take it, for example, and they chop it up into little bits and they use it as filler for, something. And it's not good quality material. And the reason for that is plastic, unlike all those other materials I mentioned, it is not inherently a recyclable material. And it's not just one thing. Plastic is made of tens of thousands of different chemicals, synthetic, man-made things that, have been put together in infinite combinations. And frequently people don't, even the people who are making this stuff, they can't even tell you it's proprietary information. And when you call up to ask, which I did, I made dozens of phone calls during our year, they don't even know often what's in the product that they're selling as, packaging, which is what plastic most often is. So, glass is glass, paper is paper. Plastic is thousands of things, which makes it really difficult to recycle. And inherently as a material, it just doesn't do well in the process. It doesn't hold up.
Well, after reading your book, I can imagine in my mind, did you just have bins all over your house for different things? Is that how you did it?
If people go to my website, which is eveschaub.com, you can see a lot of pictures. And some of them are very funny because, of course, as you can imagine, I started out the year and I've got little adorable glass containers and everything is in its place. And then it moves on and I've got baskets and bins. And then I've got piles. And all of this is stuff that's waiting for me to figure it out. Where's it going to go? Yeah. Who actually wants this thing? And what is it really made of anyway? And so I've got, the piles would get big and then they'd spill onto my kitchen floor, which is where I had this recycling center located in the corner of my kitchen. And then I'd super organize it again. And then it would be out of control again. And it was just, it was a task that was never ending. And
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did it. You got a remarkable family. You got a remarkable family.
My husband was like, I can't see this. I'm not looking. I don't want to deal with this. Yeah. So it was my job. And I have some wonderful pictures of me and my younger daughter sitting on the kitchen floor, just tearing her hair out, going, what about this? And what about this? This tiny little, what about this little thing? I don't know, and what are we doing with corks again? And,
Well, I'll tell you, after reading this, or while I was reading it, I got to looking. I can't believe the amount of trash that my family produces. I mean 3 to 4, 5 bags a week. And there's not many in my house. And everything has plastic in it. Everything. Once you start to really look at it, it's amazing. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
Well, can you give us a couple of examples that people would be surprised to know what plastic is actually in off the top of your head? Just give us a few.
So many things. The number one clue that I'll tell people is if you don't know what it is plastic, right?
Exactly.
All these mystery materials, like what about potato chip bags? Plastic, but in combination with other things. Cartons, for example, like when you buy, whether it's an aseptic carton that sits on the shelf in the supermarket that has soup, or whether it's a gable top carton that contains milk, they always contain plastic. Coffee cups have a plastic lining. What else? Wipes, all the wipes, makeup wipes, cleaning wipes, baby wipes. All of these things, and people will flush those down the toilet and it causes a tremendous problem because they clog, they don't break down.
No.
And even when things are labeled saying this will break down, it's not necessarily the case. And that brings me to another startling revelation, which is that there's no sheriff in town when it comes to these things, whether something's compostable or recyclable or going to break down, there's nobody watching. So companies will say, yes, it's green, it's eco-friendly, it's recyclable, and it's compostable. And you can't necessarily take their word for it. There's nobody that's going to punish them for saying this stuff and being inaccurate. So that's why I feel like the book is a really great resource, because you can sort of get to the bottom of things by reading this and be a sort of more informed consumer.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, it's very confusing. However, if somebody wanted to get started, for lack of a better word, recycling 101, how would somebody get started? Not on the level that you did, but somebody like me.
I wouldn't recommend doing what we did.
The average person, where could they easily get started in recycling?
Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, one is that in our culture, I think we're just encouraged to be so busy all the time. How are you? I'm busy. And that's positive, right? Oh, that's good. That's better than not being busy, right? But we're always on this sort of fast forward, and plastic is really about convenience. It's about making your life faster all the time. And so what I try to encourage people to do, and I actually found that this is something that was the result of all three of my books in different ways, is to slow down. And, that doesn't mean you have to spend hours, sorting through your garbage like I did. It just means taking a moment. And I think we all have moments where we could stop and pause and think about what's going into that trash can, and could it go somewhere else? So one of the things that we now do is we have a bin. It's not really a trash bin, it's a plastic bin, because plastic, single-use disposable plastic, is the only thing that we throw away now. And everything else has somewhere to go. If you think about it for a while, for example, I collected wine corks and plastic caps. And then I went onto a local online message board and said, hey, does anybody want any of these for a craft project? So I had a Girl Scout troop contact me, and they took all my plastic caps, like 2 years worth of plastic caps, and they're going to make a big mural out of it. And I'm like, that is such a better use than having it go sit in the landfill or go to an incinerator and get burned and create toxic ash and gases. So again, sometimes it's just a matter of sort of rethinking. I like to say that there's really no such thing as trash or garbage, that garbage is in the eye of the beholder. Garbage is just whatever we say it is, right? It's the thing you don't want. It's the thing that's in the wrong place. It's like a weed. A weed is just a plant that's growing somewhere that you don't want it to grow. But there's somebody out there in the world who might want that thing. And so if you pause and think, I wonder where else this could go.
Right. Well, like I said, I keep showing the book. Everybody needs to buy it. But when I read this book, there's some good advice in there. For example, some easy things like don't get a receipt, have them email you the receipt.
Yes, absolutely. Receipts. That's another good one that a lot of people don't realize. They're multi-layer plastics. It's not good for you, the chemicals that are in those receipts.
Exactly.
So if you can do without it.
Absolutely. Or buying used clothing. I mean, I think that's a great idea. But the book is full of ideas. So I encourage everybody to buy it and read it. And you're going to be really surprised at what you find out. So I don't want to give everything away, but you did find out that plastic, I'm going to read this. You state that the plastics are poisoning the environment and our bodies at an alarming rate, and microplastics are being found everywhere, from the top of Mount Everest even into the placenta of an unborn baby. Is that crazy or what? Is that possible?
And this is something that is astonishing to realize, that all of that is true, and yet most people don't know it. It's shocking. And I think we need to know that this is what's happening. It's so important for us to understand that plastic, it doesn't break down the way other materials do, because it's a man-made synthetic material. It's been constructed in such a way, it's kind of a magic material that never breaks down. Instead, it breaks up. So it turns into little pieces, but it's still the same material. And it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it turns into what we call microplastics. And then it ends up in our environment, and it ends up in our food. It ends up in our drinking water. And that doesn't matter whether it's bottled water or tap water. It's all got microplastics in it now. You buy it at the store, it's got microplastics in it. It's in our food, it's in our beer, it's in our fish, and we're consuming it. So the estimate is that we're all consuming 5 grams of plastic a week, which is shocking when you think how that's the size of a credit card's worth of plastic. So we're taking all this in, and we're not really sure what it's doing to us in terms of our health, but I am betting that it's not good.
No, I'm with you on that.
Most people don't realize that plastics are made from a combination of fossil fuels and toxic chemicals. And by toxic chemicals, I'm talking about heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants, PFAS, the forever chemicals. These are all known carcinogens, fertility inhibitors, endocrine disruptors. They cause birth defects and brain damage and developmental disorders. This is all bad. And another thing a lot of people don't know about plastic is that it's not as stable as you think, because plastic leaches the chemicals that make it up.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, I talked about the tens of thousands of chemicals that are in there. Those actually leach into the food that it's containing, for example. Or if it's in your body in the form of a microplastic, it will leach out of that microplastic into your bloodstream. And microplastics have been found in every part of the human body that they have looked for them.
Wow.
As you mentioned in the placenta, babies, when they're born, their first poop has microplastics in it now.
Wow.
We have microplastics in our brains, in our lungs, in our bloodstream, you name it, plastic is there. And so the effects of this are still being studied, but I guarantee you it's not going to be good. And there are a lot of maladies that we're grappling with today. Infertility is a big one. Infertility is just absolutely skyrocketing. And could it be that we have so supersaturated ourselves with plastics in our environment and in our bodies that it's causing these terrible problems? I mean, I'm sure we will be finding out more in the years to come, but we need to get a jump on this now as soon as possible, because like I said, no one's minding the store. And
Right.
The American Chemistry Council is a very powerful entity that is funded by big oil money, because remember, plastics are made with oil. So They're powerful, and they don't want to see change. In fact, by their own estimates, they're going to triple production by 2050 of plastic.
Wow.
I don't know about you, but I don't need triple the amount of plastic in my life that I already have now, especially now that I've had a chance to look at it really hard.
Right. Wow. All right, I'm running out of time here. I'm running short. So let me ask you this: what is a kitchen makeover?
Okay, so I've been experimenting on social media, and if anybody's on TikTok or Instagram, come find me. And I do these little short videos where I go around and I talk about these different materials that are part of our life and give people information. And when I did a video, short 1-minute video where I run around my kitchen and I'm wearing a superhero cape. And I find all the things that are plastic. And because that plastic is in contact with my food, I want to remove it, whether it's a plastic spoon, a plastic Tupperware container. And I go through and I say, okay, instead of this plastic Tupperware, why not use this Pyrex container that I bought at the local charity shop for $5? This is what we used to use before we had so much plastic in our lives. Instead of this, plastic spatula, which is, it's going to be heating up and releasing even more of those toxic chemicals into my food, I'll use a metal spatula or a wooden spatula.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah. The biggest place that I think people, if you want to start anywhere, start with the stuff that touches your food, because that is the most likely port of entry for the plastics to be going into your body. Just holding a piece of plastic there's not a significant amount of plastic that's going to go through your skin. But if you're drinking bottled water, that's in a plastic container, yeah, you're definitely getting plastic there. So I did a sweep and I said, replace, and there are solutions for all these things, because all we have to do is look back in time to what we used to do before plastic became so pervasive in our society.
Good deal. Good advice. The last thing we do on our show is called the Fun Fast 5. It's where I ask you 5 fun, simple questions, and you just answer them off the top of your head.
Okay.
So, there's no right or wrong answer. Are you ready to play?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What was harder, a year without trash or a year without sugar?
That's an excellent question. It was definitely a year of no garbage. And I
Yeah.
did not expect that. My daughters said to me, year of no sugar is not even going to touch a year of no garbage. It's going to be much harder. And they were right.
Yeah. 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 Okay, good. Who complained the most, your daughters or your husband?
You're going to get me in trouble.
Well, hey,
Okay, I'm going to say my husband.
Okay.
Don't tell him.
I won't tell him, and don't tell him you did the interview. Looking back, would you do it again? A year of no trash or a year of no sugar? Would you do it again?
I would. I would
Okay.
do it again because I think it's so. I like I said, I'm the eternal optimist, and I think it's so desperately important. And knowing what I know now, I feel like I am more at peace because I have these answers now instead of just wondering. I wonder. I hope this gets recycled. I wonder if this is bad for me. Now I know.
Right. Cool. As far as trash wise, what was the most challenging obstacle you had?
Oh my gosh.
I know that's a hard one. I would say saran wrap after reading the book, but anyway.
That's right. So that's one of the crazy extreme things we had to do was I was literally washing saran wrap, which was something no one else in my family would do it. They were just like, I'm sorry, no.
Nobody's going to do that. I hate to tell you that.
No. But other things like washing tinfoil are actually surprisingly easy. That's another one that normally I just ball it up and throw it away. But now I'm like, this is a valuable material. I'm going to, and it's not that hard. But yes, I do think that one of the hardest things was simply the ferreting out of information and doing it fast enough to keep up with the mounting piles that were starting to fall over on me in the kitchen and make my family unhappy.
Right.
That was probably the hardest part. Getting good information.
This is not one of your questions, but I just thought of it. Are you using paper towels again?
So I'm a confirmed paper towel addict.
I know. I remember that.
Yeah. And so that was one of the things that I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I have to give these up? And the solution I came up with is I do have paper towels for the really grossest job. The cat spits up.
Yeah.
And what I do is I hide the paper towels from myself. I put them in the laundry room so that if I really, really want it, I'll go get one. And then I compost it because, of course, paper towel is compostable. It doesn't have to go in the trash. Right. So I do use paper towels, but I have new strategies to limit it. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And the last question, what are you most proud of?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
That's very hard. I'm very proud of my family.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah, I'm very proud of them for putting up with me and my crazy experiments and learning the lessons right along with me. They have internalized them, especially my daughters, because I think the young people are going to be, they're going to get older and they're going to be confronted with these issues. And it's so important that they know what's contained in this book.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great. I wish I had more time because we could go on forever. But I want to encourage everybody to go out and buy this. I'm assuming you can buy it anywhere, like Barnes & Noble.
You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Amazon.
You can get it local independent bookstore. If they don't have it, they can order it. Yes, all the places but of course, go visit my website. I have links to all the booksellers there as well as my blog. And I'm always updating my blog and writing about new things that I'm finding out about garbage.
So check it out, folks. It's going to be fun. You won't regret it. So as always, we thank you for tuning in for however little time you got with us. So, and tell a friend about us if you don't mind, and be sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, may God bless you richly and peace out.